Alright, so last night, before the wife got home from work, I noticed a couple of new spots under where her car sits, like it's leaking. And I find that odd, because everything in it's brand new. So, I got it up on jack stands last night, and it appears as though I may have purchased a bad steering rack. So it appears as though it's leaking from the inner tie rod boot on the driver's side. I thought it might have been the lines weren't tight enough, but no, they're all dry. But the boot is wet and the cradle is covered in power steering fluid. So we're going to, I've got a spare rack out of one of my other cars that only has about 10,000 kilometers on it. So I'm going to chuck that in here, and then I'll try to deal with getting that replaced or refund or something. But first things first, let's get the car fixed. So let's get these tires off of here.
Looks fairly wet, because it is. It's power steering fluid. Now, I want to try to figure out where it's coming from. Very, very wet there. Oh yeah, there's some wetness there too. Now, oh, doesn't appear it's coming from the CV. Oh no, there it is. Yeah. Inside of the boot there is very wet, and the outside is not. But it also looks like chunks of the steering rack are possibly a little wet too. So let's get ourselves under here a little better. We can have a look. Leaking from. Is it leaking from the lines? No. You can clearly see there, guys. It's. Well, I can anyway. I don't know about you guys. Where's the lines? There's the lines. Those lines are dry. It's leaking from somewhere in the back of the rack. Or right there on the boot, maybe? I don't know. See, either way, it's pretty obvious to me that the rack is the issue. Because the lines are dry. The lines are all dry right up to the back of the pump. And as you can see here, that's a pretty clean looking engine block for a 1996, eh? Oh, completely redone. Oh yeah, and my beautiful stainless exhaust all the way down with a high flow cat. New resonator. New everything. And apparently a bad steering rack, which actually makes sense, because when I put it in there I always thought that the steering felt like it never had any resistance in it. Like it was responsive, and like very responsive. It just had no resistance. You could spin it so freely. It just didn't feel right. And now that it's leaking after only, we'll say, less than 2,000 kilometers, and you know, way less than a year of being in a vehicle, I don't really think that it is that it's not the rack. I think I bought a bad one. Which, it happens, but they're kind of expensive, so I'm hoping that I can get in contact with where I got it from, and they can sort this all out and make me a happy customer. Because, yeah, that's not enough mileage to make it worth it. So here are some other mods I did here. So here's the H&R springs I put on her, and the KYB shocks. We got the Goodrich braided stainless lines, power stop drilled and slotted rotors with carbon fiber ceramic pads. We've got some nice red urethane bushings everywhere. I've done this to all my cars. This is the Proforged front sway bar with urethane. This thing handles, it's very solid. So I guess I'm gonna start taking this apart. So first I will get the other tire off, and we'll knock out the tie rod end. We'll just get that out of there. I'm going to leave, or I am going to separate this because I'm going to keep these tie rods. They're brand new. And the inner tie rods on my other rack are also basically, well, the other rack only has 10,000 kilometers on it, so it's basically brand new too. But those are brand new, so I will reuse those. And then I'll probably take these out of the rack and keep them as spares. But it's just kind of annoying when you build a car and everything in it is brand new and less than one oil change interval and things are leaking on you. Like, it happens. But I was not planning on having to make this video because I wasn't planning on having to pull a steering rack out of a car. But so be it. That's the way the cookie has crumbled today. So I guess we'll get cracking at that. Everything's a hammer. One down. I'm just gonna go do that to the other side now. I'm gonna try to access the lines from the top. I've found that works. That works the best for me anyway. There's no real good way. It looks like there's lots of room at the bottom, but there's really no way to get a wrench in there. So you can get it from the top. Oh, what are you? 18 and 16? 16 and 17? I do gotta say, this rack was a lot easier to put in the car when 18. Oh shit, I was right. It was a lot easier when the cradle was out and the whole engine was out. Alright, that one snapped nice and easy. It should. I put it together like a year ago. Almost a year ago today, this would have been going in. Oh, jeez. Well, there's some in there. Not on the stick, but there's some in there. They're both 18 mil nuts, but they are two different size fittings, so you cannot put them in the wrong spot when you put it back together. Just need to get this plastic panel out of the way. And then, believe it or not, there's only three bolts. I just gotta undo the steering column. Out of the way. So if we get up under in here and we lift this little booty thing, lift the little booty, there we go. There's an oh, that's where it's leaking from. Well guys, it's leaking up. Well, that's just further indication that the rack is no good. But there is an 11 mil bolt right there under my finger. It's the only 11 mil in the car, I think. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But you undo that from the steering column, and then there's two bolts that secure it to the cradle, and then that thing should just fall and slide right out one side or the other. I hope it rotates enough to get past the transmission there and come through this hole right here. Oh, I hope. Oh, I hope. I'm gonna break that 11 mil.
It's a weird looking little bolt, so you don't lose this because that looks special to me. Okay, so the rack is pretty much disconnected from the steering column. Now we crawl ourselves under the car and undo the 2 bolts that hold it onto the cradle, and this thing should fall out, one would hope. Oh, it might. Hi. So, now I'm under here. There's a bolt here, a bolt here. They go right through the cradle, like so. You're 15 on one end, 13 on the other end. And then it pretty much should just fall out. Ooh, oh, good. One more bolt to go and a power steering rack is out. I'll be honest, I've only actually been doing this for about an hour, so that's pretty decent, I gotta say. There. Okay, now that bolt comes out. Oh yeah. Perfect. Oh. It's free. It's free to come out of there. But I'm gonna start giving some stuff a wipe because I'm tired of getting dripped on here. Okay, guys, I'm actually really shocked at how easy that actually was. You're saying, oh, I gotta do a power steering rack, and everyone thinks, oh, yeah, that's terrible. Oh, hey. So it appears as though we were leaking right here. Look at that. That's just... Alright, well. Hey, I'm gonna run inside and grab the other one, and let's get this car back together. I'm gonna measure how far the tie rods went in on one. Line them up beside each other. And then, hopefully, that'll make it so that I won't need a wheel one. There's a new one transpiring. Won't be perfect, but it'll be close. Well, let's put it back in the car. Alright, let's aim for that hole. That hole right there. Oh, let me do this. On? I hope so. Alright. Sometimes getting that steering column back on there can be a bit of a
Bit of a pain, but I believe that should be the hardest part. And once it goes, it's easy. That rack is pretty much in. Let's quickly get these tie rods. Right on, that side's done. I'm gonna quickly go do that on the other side, and then we'll go up top and plug the lines in. Oh. Before I forget, let's snug this one out. That jam nut is jammed. Okay, so the one line I got from the bottom, the hardest part of this job so far has been just getting those two hydraulic lines back into the rack. Those are hard to get started in the car. They're easy when they're not in the car, but they're hard to get going. So I'm just going to tighten up this last one. Okay, it's all tightened up. I'm going to go find some power steering fluid. Oh, I guess we'll put that air duct back on. I'll leave the tires off so I can start it and let it run and see if this rack is any good. Now I might just be undoing all that again. Alright, so I got her back on the ground. Wheels are back on. No leaks so far. It does need to top up a power steering fluid. I didn't quite have enough, so tomorrow I'll have to run down. The stores are closed now, so I'll have to run down tomorrow, get some power steering fluid, and the wife can take her to work on Monday. So, right on. I win. If you're curious, that took me, I've never done one in the car before, so that was the first time I've ever had to change one while it was still in the car. And that took me, you know, 2 hours, and that was with filming. So if you got under there and hammered it out, and you knew what you were doing and exactly how to do her, oh yeah, you're golden. you'd be able to do this real quick. It's a very easy job, even though steering rack. There's the old one. So that's all no longer in there, which is good because it was leaking. And I'll have to get in contact with those people. But that'll about do it for today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.